Climate responsive and sustainable livelihoods. What does it mean to have a sustainable livelihood? In the face of changing climate, how can we ensure that our livelihoods not only survive but also protect the planet and empower everyone involved? In this video, we look at gender-sensitive, climate-responsive livelihoods, innovative, resilient approaches that bring equal opportunities for men and women to thrive, adapt, and build stronger communities. Sustainable livelihoods are more than just jobs. They're about creating secure, long-lasting income sources that can withstand climate shocks and stresses while preserving natural resources. But here's the question: are our livelihoods strategies empowering everyone equally? Are we setting up both women and men for success in changing world? To be truly sustainable, livelihoods must be climate responsive and resilient. They need to offer decent living standards while adapting to the impacts of climate change. And we can do this by diversifying income sources. For example, a farmer who grows both food crops and cash crops is more resilient to drought or market changes than one who relies on one single crop. Consider the concept of resilience through diversity. By creating different income sources, communities aren't as vulnerable to any single climate or economic challenge. How might you apply this idea in your own work or community? What possibilities could diversity bring to your economic stability? Why is gender equality essential in climate-responsive livelihoods? Because gender-sensitive livelihoods recognizes that men and women are impacted differently by climate change, often due to inequalities in access to resources like land, finances, and education. Without equal access, how can we expect women to bring their full potential to climate adaptation and community resilience? When we build gender equality into climate-responsive livelihoods, we create the conditions for everyone to contribute to and benefit from sustainable growth. Imagine the difference it makes when women can access financial resources, land, or technical training just as easily as men. Not only do they support their families, but they help entire communities adapt and prosper in face of climate change. So, what do these climate-resilient livelihoods look like in action? Let's dive into some specific examples where climate-smart practices meet gender-sensitive design and ask yourself, could these examples work in your community? What other creative, climate-friendly income streams could you imagine? Agroecology is a holistic approach to farming that builds resilient food systems by mimicking natural ecosystems. From crop rotation to organic fertilizers, these practices not only protect soil health and biodiversity, but also offer farmers a stable income while reducing reliance on chemical inputs. What if more farms adopted these principles? Could agroecology be the key to a more food-secure future? In community forestry, locals manage to benefit from their forests, creating opportunities in timber harvesting, ecotourism, and more. It empowers communities to take charge of their resources sustainably, benefiting both people and the environment. How might your community benefit from greater control over local resources? Could community-led conservation help address some of today's environmental challenges? Renewable energy provides clean, reliable power and reduces pollution. Women can take on significant roles, from installing solar panels to maintaining wind turbines, creating income and reducing reliance on fossil fuels. How could renewable energy change the economic landscape of your community? Are there areas in which women could lead the change? Sustainable tourism brings income to local communities while minimizing environmental impact. Women can lead in ecotourism by creating authentic experiences for visitors, which preserves culture and promotes local products. Imagine a tourism industry where women are not only hosts, but also business leaders, shaping how visitors experience their communities. Could this be a path to both cultural preservation and economic growth? How can we adapt our existing livelihoods to climate responsive? Adapting livelihoods doesn't always mean starting from scratch. It often means modifying what we already do to be more climate responsive. Consider the livelihoods around you. How could they adapt to face climate challenges? For instance, farmers can diversify their crops, introduce drought-resistant plants, or practice water-efficient irrigation. These adjustments can make a world of difference. Small changes like this protect income sources and strengthen resilience. What if we applied this thinking to all livelihoods? How could it reshape communities to be more self-reliant and secure? We can build resilience through social capital and women empowerment. Resilience is not just about physical resources. It's about social capital, the strength and support networks within a community. For example, community saving groups allow people to pool resources, helps members recover from climate-related losses more easily. Imagine if every community had these strong, accessible support networks. How would it change their capacity to bounce back from crisis? When women have equal access to these resources and sit at the decision-making table, they contribute significantly to building these networks. In this way, social capital not only empowers women, but makes entire communities more resilient. In Gujarat, India, the Gram Nithi project taught women in semi-arid regions to use pear cactus, a resilient native plant, as a source of income. By learning to process the fruit, these women turned a hardy plant into sustainable business. They adapted local technology to make cactus fruit juice and formed self-help groups to support each other and build savings. What other climate-resilient resources are underutilized in communities around the world? How many hidden opportunities could be revealed if we invested in locally adapted, sustainable practices like this one? So, where do we begin when designing our own climate-responsive, sustainable livelihoods? First, consider local needs and resources. What unique asset does your community have? Then, think about gender sensitivity and inclusivity. Are both men and women able to access and benefit equally? Finally, consider market opportunities, environmental impact, and long-term resilience. Remember, effective solutions are born from collaboration and inclusion. How might these principles be applied in your community to develop robust, resilient livelihoods? What steps can you take to start this process? In this video, you learned about aligning existing livelihoods with sustainable, climate-responsive approaches to agriculture and food production. You also learned that sustainable livelihoods are ways of making a living that protects the environment and address the impact of climate change. They can help people to reduce their vulnerability to the impacts of climate change, improve their food security, increase their income, create jobs, and protect the environment. To design climate-responsive and sustainable livelihoods, we can diversify livelihoods, improve climate resilience, build social capital, and empower women. Empowering women through climate-responsive livelihoods is a win for everyone. It fosters innovation, builds economic stability, and protects our environment. When both women and men have equal opportunities to lead and contribute, we create a foundation for communities that are resilient, adaptable, and sustainable. This publication was made possible through the funding provided by Global Affairs Canada under the Empowering Women and Girls project. The Commonwealth of Learning wishes to thank the contributors to this video: Kuntal D., Sandy Hertz, Francis Ferreira, Cyrus Kithuva, and Collins Amonde.